Well, the untimely demise of CNN Plus is leading to further speculation about the future of cable companies in the new streaming era. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Allie Canal, who's been following this for us. And Allie, this is a project that didn't even last a month. We've already seen the shows all end. I mean, number one, it says about the challenges of news brands being able to stream, but also these legacy media companies who've tried to dive into the space.
Yeah, Akiko, it's definitely a big challenge. And Saturday, tomorrow, CNN Plus is officially shutting down after you said just 1 month. And I did want to dig into more about why it's so difficult for these cable companies to stream. I talked to two professors at UVA's Darden School of Business, and they told me it really boils down to two things: content and contracts. So on the content side, cable channels, cable networks are really limited in what they can show because they are at the mercy of advertisers. So that's why we see a lot of sexier, more nuanced programming on streaming. And on cable, it's a lot of the same: the reality TV series, the sci-fi shows, the sitcoms, etc. So that's one issue. And then we have to take a look at the contracts. So a lot of these cable networks have these long-standing contracts with legacy cable operators like a Comcast or a Charter, and within those contracts, there has to be some sort of expectation of exclusivity, because if I'm a user and I'm subscribed to cable through Comcast, but I could access that same program elsewhere, there's no reason for me to subscribe. And that's really what happened with CNN and CNN Plus. CNN as a network is known as a really hard breaking news type of network, but if they had that same type of programming on CNN Plus, they would have been in breach of contract. And that's why we saw a lot of those shows on CNN Plus were a lot more lifestyle types of programming, an Anderson Cooper parenting show, for example, but that was a little bit off brand. And I think that muddled messaging confused viewers. And I think ultimately is one of the big reasons why we saw CNN Plus fail, along with those management woes, bad timing with Warner Brothers Discovery. But at the end of the day, although streaming is quote unquote the future, for some of these companies, they are going to side with cable over streaming because that's where the money is. It's a tried and true business. It's business to business versus direct to consumer. And that's a whole different ballgame for these types of corporations that either want to go full throttle into streaming or try and double dip. And that is where the crux of the issue is right now.
Well, you would think that something like sports, especially those contracts are so big, especially on the cable side. Charter and Comcast, two giant cable TV operators, announced a new joint venture earlier this week to offer a next-gen streaming site. I mean, it sounds like another company attempting it. Is the fate going to be the same?
Right. And I think this venture represents, a point that these companies can still have a stake in the streaming wars without the content conflict. So this is more focused on the product side, going after the Rokus, your Amazon Fire Sticks, your YouTube TVs of the world. And that could help with two things. One, when it comes to search and discovery, we know that users want to find their favorite shows, their favorite platforms very easily. This could potentially solve some of those problems. And on the other end, and you and I have talked about this extensively, is data. Data has become the new golden goose in the streaming era. And now these legacy cable operators, they're going to have a lot of access to user information, how people are interacting with these streaming platforms, what type of user is gravitating towards which type of service. They could potentially use that data for themselves. They could sell it to advertisers. So that's a really big thing there. But these cable operators, they're having a bit of an identity crisis themselves, right? They're trying to figure out, how do I fit into this new landscape? Because for the longest time, it was one way. Now things are completely different and they want a seat at the table. This could be a good way for them to get in on it.
Makes me wonder what my viewing habits and my data says about what kind of
user. I'm like, they're watching us all the time.
Some reality TV mixed in with some really serious documentaries.
My viewing habits is very ADD, all over the place.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And I never finish the shows. So there you go. Allie, thanks so much for that. And of course, you can read all about it on our site.